Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking another FPV camera from RunCam. This is the Micro Sparrow. It's the micro version of the Sparrow camera that I reviewed a few weeks ago, and it's very similar to the Micro Swift, but this is a CMOS camera and it's NTSC PAL switchable. More importantly, it's a 16:9 camera, not a 4:3. And it's got the same voltage range, 5 to 36 volts, and 145-degree field of view. So here's everything you get in the box. You get the camera. You get the video cable, some screws, mounting bracket, and you get the OSD joystick. So it's pretty much all the same stuff you get with the Micro Swift 2. So here's a look at the camera itself. It comes with a 2.1mm lens. So it says it's got 145-degree field of view, so it's going to be a little different than the Micro Swift. It has the same 2.1mm lens, but I think the field of view is like 160 degrees. But we'll take a quick look at that. Same connectors on the back as the Micro Swift. You get the power and then video. No OSD for like voltage or piloting or anything like that. And then you got your connections for your OSD joystick. We'll take a look at the camera settings in a second. And here it is next to the Micro Swift. And you can see the Micro Swift is on the left here. You can see the lenses are the same. But you can see the Sparrow here on the right is a little bit shorter. Yeah, since the sensor is different here, the lens holder is also shorter as well. And see, I got the boards lined up, but the height of the Micro Swift holder here, the lens holder, is taller, and the lens obviously sticks out a little bit more because of that. Okay, so I got the Micro Sparrow here plugged in, and we'll take a look at what the image looks like here on my monitor, and also we'll take a look at the field of view. I'm going to point it off to the corner of the room here. I'm going to line up that bookcase on the right, to the right side of the monitor, and the bottom of the desk here on the bottom of the monitor. And so you can see the fan, the ceiling fan up there, and on the left here, just barely catching the corner of the door. Yeah, just barely. Yeah, actually, when I move it over to the right there like that, yeah, you can see that it just barely catches the corner of the door. So that's the horizontal and vertical field of view on the Sparrow. Let's compare that to the Micro Swift. Okay, so I got the Micro Swift plugged in here, and I'm going to line up the bookcase there on the right in the same spot. And yeah, it looks pretty, actually a little bit wider. So it's a little bit wider horizontally. But I think it's a lot wider vertically. You can see that on the Sparrow, the light from the ceiling fan doesn't show up there on the top, and it was like you would see about that much of the blades. But if I line it up properly here, so it looks like the width is about the same, but the height is a little bit narrow. So that might be either due to the cropping of the sensor, or the sensor is actually cropped down because of the 6:9 aspect ratio, and so you lose a little bit of vertical field of view. It's not as wide vertically. Okay, I got the Micro Sparrow plugged in again, and I'm going to put the lens cap on so we can look at the menu. Okay, so I turned off the overhead lights here so that we can see the menu better. There's too much glare on the screen. So we got exposure, and we got brightness levels, middle, high, low. I'm gonna leave this all standard for the flight demo. Shutter mode, auto, leave that alone. Automatic white balance, ATW1, that's fine. Image adjustment here. So we have sharpness, noise reduction, contrast, saturation, red gain. Let's see here. It's probably next is green gain and blue gain. So these are all the default settings. Going to leave all that alone, and then let's go to the next page here. So day night is set to EXT, and I'm not exactly sure what that is. Probably just, I'm going to leave that, I'm going to set that to color so it doesn't go to black and white. And then under system, yeah, so here we can change our system from NTSC and PAL, change our language. I'm going to leave all this alone, and leave this alone as well. Go ahead and exit out of this. Go next. So wide dynamic range. Yeah, you can go either middle, high, or low. I'm going to actually go high on this because might as well take advantage of the wide dynamic range. Go next. And I think that is pretty much all the settings. So we'll go ahead and we'll save and exit. And let's take a quick look at that. Don't expect the image to change too much. Yeah, it looks about the same. It does look a little bit more saturated. But the colors are really nice on the Sparrow. That's one thing I like about the Sparrow. The colors on the Swift are kind of muted, pretty low contrast. So we'll give this a try and take this out the field, fly it on one of my micros, and we'll see what the image quality is like. So I'm here at the park and I'm flying on a pretty bright sunny day. You can see the color reproduction of the Micro Sparrow is pretty nice. And if you prefer this over, say, like the washed out look on the Micro Swift, then this is definitely a camera for you, especially if you're looking for the 16:9 aspect ratio. And obviously they don't have an eagle in the micro form factor yet, and so this is probably the way to go. One thing to be aware of is that you want to be flying this camera on a bright sunny day like this, where there's not much cloud cover or overcast conditions, because this camera does not perform that well in I guess those kind of conditions where it's kind of overcast or dark, sun, like near sunrise or sunset. Basically what happens is it basically have some problems with the exposure, and the ground turns either really dark or the sky gets overexposed. You don't really see it too much here when it's a nice bright sunny day when all the lighting is consistent. It only happens when you have those kind of conditions, mostly kind of towards the end of the day at sunset. So this camera probably is not going to be the camera for you for those times of the day, and I haven't found settings that really fix that problem for this camera. So if you tend to fly mostly, you know, late in the day, late afternoon, you know, around sunset, I would stick with the Micro Swift. Obviously then you're going to be stuck with the 4:3 aspect ratio, but you know, you probably want to be able to see where you're flying, so definitely stick with that camera. Now, the other thing to note here is that as I'm flying around, you're probably noticing a lot of jello in the video, and that's because, you know, obviously this is a CMOS camera here, and I actually replaced a Micro Swift on this quad. I forget which drone this was exactly, but it had a Micro Swift in there, and I didn't get any jello because I was a CCD camera. But when I put the CMOS camera in here, you know, on the same mount, basically I haven't changed anything with the camera. Now I'm getting jello, and that's something that you have to be aware of with these CMOS cameras. You're going to need to have this mounted very securely, where you're not going to get a lot of vibration going into the camera, and then you're going to get some jello in the video like this. It's not terrible, but something you should be also aware of.